conference on Thursday, so you don't have to talk about Sunday's game. No, I'm just kidding, Lindsay. It's all about winning the game, and then we talked about this in the offseason. You talk about make a difference plays. And the make a difference plays for me in the game was the 2 turnovers big early in the game, giving us the lead, giving our offense a chance to go down there and score and really put the game into our control where we can dictate the terms. And that's always the key in the fact of winning team football. I thought Sean and the offense did a great job of managing the game. And in that third quarter, when they started to get a little momentum, when they had scored a touchdown going into half and scored a touchdown coming out of half, and we got a big long drive there, taking about almost felt like 8 minutes. And it really got the defense back settled and got us a chance to finish the game. I thought it was a well-executed team football game. I thought it was a well-executed across the board from an effort standpoint, from a physical standpoint. There's always things you can do better. There's always things you want to do better. And those are the ways you want to learn lessons when you're a good football team. You want to go out and learn those lessons and wins. And that's key. I thought the fact that we won the game, we get a chance to go correct some of the things that we want to correct. We get a chance to get better at some of the things we want to get better at. And, boy, what a performance by Jalen Ramsey. You're talking about a guy who's shaking the tag of a shutdown corner and going to just a football player. One of the better performances I've seen by the young man. I know it's not saying much, but since I've been coaching him.
In terms of Jalen, how unique, in your experience coaching in the NFL, is to have a corner who is so willing and eager to be as physical and get in and kind of get...
I think it's really fair to say, Lindsay, that willing is an understatement. This guy absolutely embraces it and loves it and wants it. And he's able to go in and mix it up with the big boys. He's able to go out and play with the skilled guys and match skill with those guys. And he likes to be challenged. He likes to move around, likes to do different things. He is certainly a challenge for me when it comes to finding different ways to keep him motivated and keep him that active. And it's also fun. It's fun when you go into the lab on Tuesdays and Mondays and you have an opportunity to think where you can place him and where you can put him and where you can be most effective on which plays and why. And I think he appreciates that. And, especially when he comes into the building, he's one of the first guys in the building to find out, hey, what's going on this week? What we doing? What's our matchups look like? What's the plan? And you got to love that from a young man. But he's very unique when it comes to going in there and mixing it up. I don't know many people that can do it that way.
He seems like he provides almost like a quarterback who can manipulate coverage, do different things on the other side. He seems like he provides answers to certain problems that may have popped up in the past as you guys try to evolve this defense moving forward.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No. I did not want to cut you off. That was not my intent. Go finish.
I'm more interested in what you have to say.
No, he's a lot of fun. Like you just described what I've been talking about as far as dictating terms. A lot of times on defense, you got to be reactive and you got to catch up to what people are trying to do to you, and you got to go on the sideline. You got to make adjustments. I think he makes people adjust. When he comes out and he's lined up at either corner, he's lined up at the star position, he's lined up at a safety position. At times he's lined up at an outside linebacker position, almost looks like. He makes people adjust to what he's doing and how they want to try to attack him or try to get around him or however you want to look at it. So he's a person that allows you to be able to go out and dictate terms, and it's exactly what you just described. And that's what makes it so fun as a coach, to be able to go on the sideline and talk to him. And the fact that he's so smart, he's able to communicate exactly what happened when he comes off the field. Had no idea how calm he was in a game-type environment until last week. And then both of us having those kind of conversations and being able to look at the iPad and they've just confirmed what we just talked about and what we saw. And to bring those things to life is a lot of fun coaching him. And that's why he's the secondary mic holder if something were to happen to Fuller, if he got a splinter.
Raheem, going back to the make a difference plays, 2 guys who really seem to be in the middle of almost all of them were Justin Hollins and Kenny Young. What did you like about the way they played, and how important are they to what you're trying to do defensively?
I'll start off with Kenny. You can't say enough about Kenny. He's a turnover magnet. He's been one of those guys that we talked about with his athleticism right from the very beginning since I've shown up to campus, and watching him go out there and create that tip on the first drive. And you got to rewind it back. They broke out the long 41-yard run or whatever it was, a long run, and to create the touchdown-saving tackle to give us the ability to vent every blade of grass was absolutely unbelievable by Kenny. Then to turn around, go and play our zone defense, bend but don't break, 1,000 cuts, go out there, tip the ball up in the air, get an interception by D'Lo was huge and phenomenal. And then to watch him go get on the ball when it was rolling around the ground, just like we've done all offseason, and whether the ball was rolling around, whether it's an incomplete pass, picking up the ball and demonstrating that you have the ability to recover it and go out there and make a different plays was absolutely, we talked about what we preached from the offseason since we've been here. To be able to go see him do those things was phenomenal. And then you talk about Justin Hollins. You guys asked me a while ago, who's going to rush off the other side of the opposite of flow. And you got your answer in this week. He came out and he was a factor. He was violent with his rush. He was physical with his rush. He was skillful with his rush. He had the ability to go out there and drop. He played a little bit of inside linebacker. He showed some of that versatility that we talked about and we love. And then to watch him absolutely cause a fumble, be the benefactor of a missed sack on one of those by Aaron. But at the same time, man, don't miss the layup. So he went out there and he made the layup. And I couldn't be more happy for those two players being those make-a-difference players in that game. And it was reflective on the game balls that we gave out when we got back to campus.
Raheem, at the end of the day, like you said, you get the win, but a couple of the big runs that they had.
Oh, yeah.
When you go back and evaluate that, is that a byproduct of not playing in preseason? Was that scheme?
You never want to make that excuse. You know, our practices are pretty tough. Our practices are pretty hard. The tackle we had wasn't a missed tackle, it was shoot awareness. And what I mean by shoot awareness, it was losing your fit on the cup. You know, Darius Williams should have been on the left side. Fuller should have been on the inside. And at most, the 41-yard run is a 7-yard to 8-yard run if they make the tackle. The things up front that happened was you decide not to throw hands and you make a decision to jump around a block. You know, you'll hear Henny talk about it hitting blocks. We didn't hit blocks. So those things just come with calculated guesses at times and shoot awareness. And those are all things that you can clean up. So when you talk about cleaning up certain things without being too technical, it just all goes down to being in the right spot that when it's called, when your time is called. So making your fits, being in the spot to make your hits and all those type of things, all the cliches you hear coaches say are some of the things that we can get better at and then we will get better at. And, actually we got better throughout the game, which was awesome.
I'm curious what your gut reaction or what you said when the 41-yard play goes on your second play as
It's really funny for me because, I thrive in adversity. So when it happened, I thought, good, let's go get a turnover. That was the first thought that crossed my mind. And not because of a cocky or an arrogant thing. It's just that you got to find ways to make people calm. And at that point on game day, I feel like my job is to be the calming factor for those guys. Hey, so that was the first thing I said on the sets. Hey, let's go get a turnover right here. Let's end this drive. Let's get the ball back for our offense. Right? No panic. Let's not try to find out what happened, what went wrong in that play, because you can't fix it. The only thing you can correct is your red zone defense moving forward. And they did. And that was the first thing that went across my mind. I wasn't thinking about my legacy as defensive coordinator in the second play. We talked about this with a bunch of you guys, and I don't think ego's involved in football. And that was not an ego-driven game. That was a well-played game and a well-sought-out game, well-fought game against a very good football team to go get a win.
couple more.
So much of the defense, we've talked about, requires that patience, right? With Jordan Fuller calling signals, he strikes me as somebody who buys into that. What is he like communicating with you in the headset, and what was he like out there after maybe some of those things happened early and kind of settling everybody?
If you know Jordan, you know he's a really calm individual. Nothing seems to shake him. Giving him a call 60 yards away from all his other guys, he finds the proper guy to relay the call to get it to the other, 10 guys in the grass, and to make sure we get everything communicated. He has no issues with adversity, and to get a little bit early, to find out where he's going to be in the field as far as placement, to be able to get some signals to some of the other guys so they can get involved as well, to be able to help him out a little bit. He's one of those common influences. He's one of those people that's very fun to work with. He'd rather talk to you after the fact as opposed to during the fact. So being around him, it's just like being around him every day in practice. He thinks about what he's doing. He puts it through a little cycle in his own head, and he comes back with a nice little answer on how he's going to get things better. And he always has a good solution for me on whatever he wants to do and whatever he figures that thing is.
So you look at
Carson Wentz, sorry.
You guys fighting over me. Come on.
He said last question. I'm getting in.
Yeah.
We have to talk about.
You can give me 2 more questions.
That Carson Wentz and the Colts offense. What did you?
Oh, we played the Colts this week.
You do.
Oh,
Yeah,
man, I forgot all about that because of you guys. No, you're talking about another playoff team, a well-coached football team by Coach Wright and what they're able to do, really physical with the 2 backs that they're having there in the backfield. 28, 21 coming at you with all type of different ways. I think these guys got a lot of receptions in their hands as well as carries. You're talking about Carson Wentz coming over with his new team, coming back from a little bit of adversity in the zone with his ankle last week. So you're sure he's going to play better, getting some more practice reps, being able to prepare for a team the right way. And you're talking about a guy that potentially won an MVP out of the league one year. So really looking forward to this team. They got one of the better fronts that we'll play in the National Football League, led by Nelson. Look forward to that matchup with him and AD. When those opportunities happen, they're talking about from a fanfare. But really well-coached team. a team that's been proven, been to the playoffs, like the Rams, like us, and I can't wait to go out there and compete against them.
What specifically?
No question for you. In the back. No, just go ahead.
What specifically poses a challenge for you all on defensive end as far as disrupting the fluidity of that offense that Carson Wentz is behind, being able to be successful on the defensive end and then being able to move forward?
You know, you got to get them off schedule. You know, if you can find a ways to get any offense off schedule, but particularly this one because of how ball control they can be with the two backs. You know, if you get these guys off schedule and force them to do a couple of things that they don't want to do, like they got off schedule last week in the second half, you have an opportunity to dictate the terms. And if we can find a way to get these guys off schedule in order to go out there and dictate terms, I like our chances with the Rams.
So in the moment when Montgomery breaks off that run, you're not, too upset. You're just thinking ahead, what can we do next? But
Honestly, it's funny you say that, but you can ask people. Like it's in that moment, you're really thinking about how do you prevent them from scoring.
right.
And when Kenny made the play, for me, that was an awesome play by Kenny, and to find out what's next. Like you get caught up in the emotions of being upset. The next thing you know, you're down 7-0 and you got a problem.
Right, but so after the game, whatever, that night, these last few days, as you review what happened with the run defense from start to finish, what has to be better in your mind?
I don't think you believe me when I say stats are for losers, and I know you don't.
You can forget the stats, but in your mind, upon reviewing it, did you feel like you guys played great run defense? Or
No. It's never. No, that's why you say you go back and review those things. You didn't play up to the standard that we're capable of playing when it comes to run defense. And you go out and you correct those things. And that's what this week of practice is for. That's what prior weeks of practice were for. And now you get a chance to go out there and you get a chance to open it up right from the beginning. So to be honest with you, you just go evaluate and you go reemphasize the things that you already talked about and let the guys go out there and fix it. Your job as a coach is to identify problems. And that was our job to identify them. Right now, you're writing about the problem. So right now, I got to identify it. We identified it. Now it's the player's job. It's their job to fix it.
All right.
He got the last question back there because I promised him.
Their running backs were targeted 15 times last week against Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
Surprising to you? Is that something you expect again?
No, not if you look at those stats for losers from last year. Their running back, one of them, I think Naeem, I think he caught about 70 balls last year. And that's very unique for a running back. So you're talking about receptions and you're talking about handoffs. You're talking about the two guys that's going to carry the load, however you want to look at it. So it's not shocking me that they want to get the ball in their hands. You're talking about a very good football player. You're talking about a guy that moves like a receiver, runs like a running back, has the ability to play with ultimate toughness. You can play them both together. You can find packages to get them out there together and do different things. So it wasn't shocking to any of us. I think these guys are prepared to have a breakout season with those two backs and both being very good. Taylor from Wisconsin, he's a load. He has been a load. He was drafted as a load, and then now we're all getting a chance to recognize how special 21 is. And on that note, I'm out of here.
Thanks for being here.
See you guys.
How are we doing, guys?
How are you?
What were some of your key takeaways from specifically what Matthew was able to do on Sunday?
I thought just overall his command was excellent. I remember talking with you guys last week about just he hadn't played this year in a game for our offense. So just his ability to take his game prep from the week to the stadium on Sunday and kind of be that calming influence. I mean, things didn't always go perfect, but his ability to just move on to the next play, execute what we wanted to at a really high level, and make some really, really good throws. I thought the guys around him, all 11 in the huddle, for the most part, we were really pleased at how, even for a lot of those guys not playing in the preseason, they were once again ready to roll, and we're really positive.
Anything you saw from him that you thought this is something we can build on or something that needs to improve?
Anytime you're looking at a quarterback in an NFL pocket, I thought he was pretty good for the most part throughout the night. But there was a couple snaps in there where, we went back and looked at it together and, hey, we can, quiet down our lower half here, or better ball security there. There's always something from a fundamental standpoint, especially, they had a pretty significant pass rush. I thought our O-line did a phenomenal job. Darrell Henderson had some great blitz pickups as well. But for him sitting in there, trusting that, and it's not like he left the pocket, but just some urgency without it seeming frantic at times, and that comes from just playing the position and being in those game settings. We try to simulate it as much as we can in an individual standpoint. The look teams did a tremendous job last week simulating that Bears defense. They're doing a great job this week as well. But as much game-like as we can make it for them, that'll start to really be a snap-in and snap-out positive for them.
How different is the offensive line's challenge blocking for somebody like Stafford, particularly having to hold blocks longer on longer throws?
Well, yeah, it's really, and not even just Matthew, because I think he does a tremendous job trying to play in rhythm. When we say one or two hitches, he normally has the ball out. But really, it's when you're trying to push the ball downfield a little bit more, that's where maybe what used to be a 3-step drop in the gun or a 5-step drop, now we're taking a little bit more extended drops. Those are a little deeper. We're trying to hitch up into a place, predetermined depth in that pocket where the linemen expect us to be. And really that was where we saw some great lateral movement from him, because it's not always, they don't just always straight rush. Sometimes you get some games or stunts or pressures where the actual home base of the pocket where you want to be might not be right behind the center, and that's that feel of not looking at the rush, but just kind of that innate ability to kind of slide ever so slightly one way or the other, climb, maybe kick back every now and then, just to find that sweet spot in the pocket. That our guys up front are doing a great job giving them. But when you are trying to push the ball downfield in the drop back game, in the play pass game, there's absolutely a necessity to be able to hold it a click longer to let our guys work downfield.
Sean had high praise for Rob Havenstein.
Yeah.
What in particular did you see?
I just think his overall ownership of what Coach Carberry and Sean are really asking of him and the rest of the O-line coaches. We got a great group, but they're all so talented, but they're coachable as well. I think we talked a lot about Matthew last week, being that way and playing at such a high level, but also being open to coaching, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give all 11 of those guys who's ever in there the best possible chance to execute that particular play, run or pass, and then we move on to the next. But Rob, since I got here, I cannot say enough about how steady he's been, but also consistently playing at a high level. And then when he takes his preparation, his focus in meetings, we had a meeting earlier today, and I remember just his engagement in what we're doing. When you're speaking to the group, you always notice that. You always notice his feedback in a real positive way, and I think that's an example of maybe not a guy with AC on his chest, but in my mind there's an imaginary one right there when I look at guys like that because of his impact on our offense.
Two questions. Would you expect a larger role for Sony Michel this week? And for quarterbacks to roll left and throw back to the center of the field or
Yeah.
right, how difficult is that? And is that something that can be taught, or that's just some guys are...
Yeah, it's a really good question, and my answer is, you can teach it all you want, but at the end of the day, you still have to be able to go out and do it in a way where, you flip your hips and that ball, you're judging a lot. The visual of what that looks like when a receiver's running away from you on an angle, there's green grass to be found, but to be able to throw the football there in stride and be able to judge a lot of different things, feeling a lot of different things while, doing it all on, really one hitch at the top of your drop to help the sell. It's special, and there's, you can see there's evidence on tape of some really special quarterbacks doing that, but it is not something you could just show a cut up of and just go call it and expect everybody to be able to execute it at the level Matthew does. It's really something. What was the first part of that? Yeah, Sony. I think the answer still. I think Daryl, we really, as far it was a different kind of game, and I don't know if Sean explained that earlier this week, but just kind of we hit the big passes, real short drives and we're scoring points, but really not one of those games that we're accustomed to where you're getting 5, 6, 7 carries in a drive to kind of find that rhythm of when you want to, spell Daryl, when you want to get Sony going. So I think it's one of those things by the game. It could vary. A ton of carries to what he got the other night, and I think Sony's okay with that, just knowing how the game went. But definitely always, as well as Jake, I think you can see all three of those guys at different times.
You're on the road this week, obviously, in the dome. Do you guys practice with the noise, and how much is that part of the equation this week?
Yeah, me personally, as a player, got to be a part of an AFC Championship game there, as well as just knowing. You can just get a feel for it, when you watch the TV copies, and it's a special place from a noise standpoint, especially when we're on offense. I think it goes back to when Peyton was there. They're very well-educated fans because you can hear a pin drop when their offense is on the field, and then the second your group runs out there, you realize that there is 70,000+ there, and they know when the communication's at a premium, they know when to crank that noise up. So it's going to be a challenge. We are practicing, obviously, for that. But this is something that you prepare for going back. Our equipment guys and our staff here do a great job giving us noise. You guys can probably hear it some days. I'm sure people in the neighborhoods of Thousand Oaks can hear it. But we're stimulating that as best we can. And that's one thing where, you talk about experience at the quarterback position, but also experience at the tackles, those guys being further away from the ball and just how those guys handle it. It's been really good work so far, but I guess we'll find out on Sunday.
Hey, Kevin, just one quick follow-up to last week's game. With everything going on, everybody's waiting for Matthew Stafford. That play to Van Jefferson, so you're calling a long play, hits him in the helmet, he falls down, he scores. Can you take us through your emotions, especially for a young man like Van?
Yeah, and me personally, I stand kind of on a little bit distance from the ball to be able to get kind of a vantage point through the defense. So luckily the cameras don't normally catch my reactions, but maybe my wife and son were the only people that noticed. I was very, very excited, and there was some visual evidence of that to be the case. But I just, obviously it's the beginning of the year. It's something we've kind of rehearsed. We've talked a lot about some of those opening plays, and then, for it to work out for a touchdown on your third play, Matthew to Van, when the work Van's put in, to be in that situation, the work our group's put in, and it's a lot of real positive feelings. And then, everybody comes over the sideline. We take a look at 2 or 3 pictures on the Surface tablet. Defense gets the ball back. It's time to go back on the field. So it's short-lived, but the emotions are, this is hard. Activating some of the things you want to do and the success you want to have versus NFL defenses. You're going to see some celebrating when we have that kind of success.
What did you do?
Yeah.
What did you do? What were your celebrations?
There might have been a fist pump, maybe a jump. I don't get much. You might not have noticed the jump, but it's just I could relive it for you, but it wouldn't. It just wouldn't feel right now in this setting. But no, I was very, very excited. I was very, very excited. But thank you guys.